All right.
It's chilly in here.
Yeah, definitely. Just have you start everything off with just introduce yourself and your band, and you're checking out Mega Metal Magazine.
Okay. Am I speaking?
Yeah,
to
just
that?
go to this one and yeah.
Sure. My name's Neil Fallon. I'm in the rock band Clutch, and you are listening to what is it? Mega Metal. You are watching.
Yeah, watching.
Mega Metal Magazine. Okay. This is Neil Fallon from Clutch, and you are watching Mega Metal Magazine.
So, Black Label tour, how's that been going for you guys?
Great. It's been a 2-month tour. It's almost done. And it doesn't really feel like 2 months. Well, maybe sometimes it feels like 2 months, but it's gone by pretty quickly for me, which I think is a good indication of a good time.
Definitely. Any memorable moments so far off the tour? Any cities that stand out in your mind?
You know, to be honest, after a couple weeks, it just kind of becomes Groundhog Day. It's very much routine, and off the top of my head, it's been pretty mundane. Not a whole lot to report.
Nice. Now, you guys have been together like 20 years now, or something like that. Did you ever think that you would still be doing this 20 years after originally starting it?
No. I mean, for years, I was under the impression that this was something I was going to do for a couple of years and then get the, quote-unquote real job. But then suddenly, after about 10, 12 years, I realized that this is what I do, and why look anywhere else? If you can make a living making music, you're pretty fortunate, and just roll with it.
And especially if it's something you love to do.
It is. It is something, and I think, like I said earlier, I just feel fortunate, and it doesn't feel like 20 years probably because I love doing it.
Now, you guys are one of a handful of bands that seem to be like permanently on the road in one form or another, doing either headlining dates or doing, other tours. What would you say some of the best and the worst things about touring is for you personally?
Well, I think live performance is the heart of rock and roll. Records, videos, singles, all that's peripheral. The live show is what a band should do. So I don't think touring is, I feel, we're not the band that feels obligated to tours to support a record. We kind of put out records to support our constant touring. It's a great education. You learn more on the road than you will in any college, university, or book. But at the same time, as you get older, your roots at home, go deeper, and it's harder to leave home. We haven't done a tour this long in probably close to 10 years.
Wow.
We usually do 4 to 5 weeks max. This one is almost 9.
Wow.
And we probably won't be doing a long one anytime soon.
Having so much material to choose from, is it difficult for you to figure out what set list you want to do?
We deal with that situation by having one man write the set list every night, and we go through alphabetical order. So first night of the tour will be Dan, and then John Paul, and then myself, because my name's Neil, and then Tim, and then we do it again. There's always a pool of songs that we choose from. I'm not going to put something on the set list that we haven't played in 15 years. But that makes it a little more exciting. I couldn't imagine doing the same set list every night.
Sorry. So let's for someone who has never seen Clutch, one of the few people out there who's never seen you guys live before, how would you describe your live performance to them?
It's bare bones rock and roll. We don't really have a whole lot in terms of production. We just go up there and we play our songs as best as we can, as sincerely as we can, and try to give people their money's worth. Try to play a long time.
Kind of let your music do your speaking for you.
Yeah, I'm not particularly adept at running my mouth in between songs.
Nice.
Let the music do the talking.
Let's talk about your record label now. How did that whole thing come about?
kind of a culmination of things. One, we were signed to a label called DRT, and when we did Beale Street, that concluded a 3-record deal with them. So we started Weathermaker Music basically because DRT was in such shambles. It was already as if we didn't have a record label, so why include third parties? In this day and age, it's really easy to do something like that, and I don't see why.
Turn this shit off.
I thought I just did that. God, gotta love editing.
I'm sure you'll work it out.
Yeah.
It's
off now.
But we got our masters back from DRT, and we're reissuing those records because DRT didn't pay us our royalties.
Wow.
So we sued them, and in lieu of what they owed us, we were awarded a judgment of getting those masters back for Blast Tire of Robot Hive, Beale Street.
Nice.
And then, in this day and age, if you're given the opportunity to have your own record label and put out your own music, I don't understand why you wouldn't. I think there's some psychology out there that, like, if you're not signed to a label, that somehow that's a sign of failure. To me, it's the complete opposite. If you're able to do it and go directly to your fan, I think that's a much more healthy relationship than including some ass jacks from New York who think they know better.
Yeah, and they're going to take 90%.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about with technology progressing the way it is, with all the social networking sites that are out there now, the Facebooks and Twitters. What's your thoughts and opinions on those crazy things?
I don't have a whole lot of opinions because I don't belong to any of it. Most of my friends I'm on the road with, and I call my wife at home, and I guess I'm just not particularly socially, inclined. It's in a lot of ways it's just a lot of noise to me. I think there's so much noise on the road that, like, when I go home, I don't really want to hear people's opinions and chitter chat and bantering back and forth about trivial things. So I kind of just block all that out, I guess. I know that sounds pretty shitty and arrogant, but that's just the truth.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about your experiences in the recording studio. Is that something you enjoy doing? Is getting in the studio and recording stuff?
I do now. I think it's been a long learning process. I used to hate it, and I don't think I was, really grasped. Well, it took years for me to kind of understand it. And it's really very simple. I think if we can write the songs and play them live first, that's half the battle. I find the things that are written in the studio, always in hindsight later on, live, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, it would have been better to have done it this way. But when you're in the studio, it's hard to make those judgments. But it's also, in this day and age, you're afforded the luxury of being able to do a lot of that stuff at home on your laptop and editing, and then when you cut and paste parts back and forth, and then you can play them live for real. And I think that's helped out a lot.
Let's go back in time a little bit with you. And do you remember the first concert you attended as a fan? Do you remember what that was?
Oh boy. There were so many countless hardcore shows that I couldn't tell you which one was the first one. I do remember two of the big things that blew my mind when I was a teenager was seeing Fugazi and seeing the Bad Brains.
Wow. And
both of those bands were, I think, in hindsight, very influential because they don't have a big production, and they would go into a hall with fluorescent lights and just completely burn down the house. And that's, I think, those bands illustrated what a live show can be if it's in its full potential.
Is there anything that musically you're listening to that might surprise a Clutch fan, that you're listening to such and such a style of music or genre or whatever?
We were listening to a lot of kind of like Afrobeat stuff, like Fela Kuti, and a lot of the compilations that have come out in recent years of Nigerian folk. Anti-Ballast is an awesome band. It's pretty, it's pretty heavy too, but I've always known about it, but it just in the past year or two, or three, really gotten into that stuff. So I think that.
What about new and upcoming bands? Is there anything that you're into right now?
The only one that kind of immediately jumps to mind is we did a festival in Norway this summer, and there was a band called Shining, and they were amazing. They're from Norway, and I think there's a band called The Shining. It's not them. I think it's just called Shining, and they have a saxophone player. It's kind of very, it's extreme, heavy, but also with kind of John Zorn elements, and they did some King Crimson covers, and I'm a huge King Crimson fan. So that immediately scored points with me. So I think they're, if they're still around, they're definitely a band to check out.
And on the subject of overseas, do you guys have any plans to go and do any touring overseas anytime soon?
This summer, we're going to do two runs, a couple festivals in Western Europe, and then hit Greece, Spain, Italy on separate runs. So June and July, we'll go over there for maybe 2 weeks at a stretch.
And how is the band received over there compared to like the American audience?
The UK is great. Scandinavia is great. Germany's good. Southern Europe, not so much. I couldn't tell you why. It's just a tougher nut to crack. It might be a language thing. Whereas, Western and Northern Europe speak a whole lot more English. But, it's not that we're going to not try to play there. We're still going to try to kick down those doors as much as we can.
What would you say the strangest venue Clutch has ever played has been?
There's been a couple boats.
Really?
Those are always fun.
Interesting.
There's been so many of them. It's hard for me to immediately
pigeonhole one.
Yeah, just. Well, I guess I wouldn't call it strange, as it was unique. I was part of that tour we did that I was talking about when we played with The Shining. A couple days prior, we played in Tromsø, Norway, which is several hundred kilometers above the Arctic Circle. And that was in the summertime, and where, at that particular time where the sun doesn't go down. And it was very surreal and kind of David Lynchian, but in all the good ways, that was pretty cool to know that we were playing above the Arctic Circle.
Nice. So when can the fans expect a new full-length Clutch record?
We're kind of just now beginning the writing process and sorting through some riffs we've been kicking around. We're going to continue to do that, and I would imagine when all is said and done, it'll be fall 2011 that the album will come out. Those plans always change, but that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Okay, cool. Well, man, I think that covered just about everything.
Okay.
Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
No problem. It's easy.
Cool.
It was.